Hello, I
Hello,
can
sir.
hear
Can
you.
you hear me? Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being in this 7th National Media Conclave. We would have been really happy if you would have been in person, but however, virtually we can hear you. Before you proceed with your keynote address, I would like to speak 2 words about you. Mr. Tuazon is the Secretary General of AMIC and the Communication and Information Specialist at UNESCO, Myanmar office. He is in the immediate past president and a current trustee of the Manila-based Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication. Mr. Tuazon has over 35 years of experience in strategic communication, planning, management, and capacity building in diverse development areas. He is a co-author of Media and Information Literacy, Curriculum for Teachers, UNESCO Paris 2011. He was the project director of the EU-funded Safeguarding Press Freedom in the Philippines 2018 March to 2020, managed by the AIJC and the International Media Support, which produced the Philippine Plan of Action on the Safety of Journalists. Professor Tuazon, you can please proceed with your keynote address.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the very kind introduction. Good morning, distinguished guests. Good morning, my dear colleagues. How I wish I could be with you in person, but I'm sure there will be another opportunity where I could join you in person. I'm deeply honored to be with distinguished colleagues in your opening inaugural program. I acknowledge, of course, the presence of the Honorable Governor, Viswabhusan Harichandan. I hope I pronounce it well. Of course, my greetings to our Lifetime Achievement Awardee, Professor Venagopal Nagaraj of Assam Central University. I would also like to acknowledge Professor Ipendra Padi, Professor B.P. Sanjay of MAHE. I recall Professor Sanjay was our keynote speaker in the AMI conference which were held in MAHE in Manipal a few years ago. I also acknowledge Professor Sabita Acharya, the Vice Chancellor of Kabul University, and of course Assistant Professor Panda. The theme, Digitech, Media Democracy, is not only timely, it is urgent, considering that digital technology has emerged as the major quote-unquote disruptor of freedom and democracy. Issues related to digital technology and democracy can be described as two sides of the same coin. One side looks at the application of digital technology in sustainable development, while the other examines equity issues, including access to digital technology. There has been considerable interest in the application side, but not much attention is given to equity side or to equity issues. Even the imbalanced interest in the application of digital technology seems to have many blind spots. For example, the impact of digital technology on food security seem wanting or very inadequate. Many digital applications seem to focus on agricultural production and extension work, but misses on software applications that facilitate the efficient distribution and sharing of produce worldwide. There is enough food production in the world to feed everyone on the planet. Yet, as many as 828 million people still go hungry. Can our software applications now focus on how surplus rice and wheat harvest in many advanced countries waste their way to food-starved communities where minority children do not have even the energy to cry. Every day, millions of individuals are forced to leave their families to find livelihood elsewhere. Labor migration must be included in our digital studies agenda to be relevant to 272 million migrant workers worldwide. These workers spend significant amounts of hard-earned money on digital gadgets and connectivity to remain in touch with their loved ones. And yet, there is very little digital study or digital research on the impact of technology on migrant workers. Discourses on the impact of digital gadgets are incomplete if we do not include the mobile phone as the democracy icon of the 21st century. We recall the 210 Arab Springs in Tunisia. This movement was later referred to as mass mobilization. It has become very difficult to repeat this Tunisia experience or Tunisia formula, as many autocratic regimes have developed their own playbook to counter-strike or stifle dissent through cyber surveillance, cyber attacks, online censorship, internet shutdowns, and blackouts, website blacklisting, among others. For centuries, if dictators want to control societies, the first thing they do is they take control of the free press. Not anymore. Today, on top of the agenda of authoritarians is to control and dominate the internet. The Freedom of the Net 2023 report entitled Repressive Power of Artificial Intelligence presents many disturbing findings. 1. Global internet freedom declined for the 13th consecutive year. 1-3 for the 13th consecutive year. Number 2, attacks on free expression grew more common around the world. Number 3, artificial intelligence or AI threatens to supercharge online disinformation campaigns. And number 4, AI has allowed governments in many countries to enhance and refine their online censorship. The Global State of Democracy Report 2023, entitled New Checks and Balances, reported that half of all countries saw declines in at least one indicator of democracy over the past 5 years. These declines were seen in the areas of representation, rights, and the rule of law. I recall Professor BP Sanjay earlier discussed about representation. So here it is, decline in the areas of representation, rights, and rule of law. The Global State of Democracy Report 2023 section on Asia presents an unfortunate canvas. 1. Freedom of expression and freedom of association and assembly continued their downward trend. Number 2, freedom of the press reported significant decline in such Asian countries as Australia, Kyrgyzstan, the Philippines, South Korea, Sri Lanka, and Taiwan. And number 3, ineffective parliaments and crackdowns on organized civil society have left the judiciary, anti-corruption commissions, and mass street protests as key countervailing institutions. They're very important sectors now to protect and defend democracy. For democracy to move forward and to reverse authoritarianism, we need access to accurate information, we need transparency, civic engagement, and digital inclusion. UNESCO advocates for the adoption of the Rome Internet Principle, ROAM. Rome stands for rights, openness, accessibility, and multi-stakeholder participation. Meanwhile, digital divide has many variants such as economic, gender, political, geographical, and sociocultural variables. The manifestations of digital divide in many countries, especially in Asia, seem to be expanding instead of narrowing. The issue of equity is not only limited to access to technology by vulnerable and marginalized sectors. Equity can also be in terms of investing in developing software applications and content creation. There is inequity when the private sector invests only in areas where they are assured of return on investment. Researchers and scholars such as you who are with us today may want to examine and compare investments in commercial applications compared with areas mentioned earlier. Investment in the use of software in food security, climate change, global migration, labor migration, among others. Digital technology provides opportunities for the common good. The same digital platforms have also been used as vectors of disinformation, hate speech, conspiracy theories, and other content harmful to democracy and human rights. Content regulatory systems have yet to catch up with these challenges of disinformation, hate speech, etc. This is the reason why UNESCO recently launched or released the Guidelines for Governance of Digital Platforms in the context of the development and implementation of a digital platform governance process. The guidelines outlines a set of duties, responsibilities, roles for states or governments, digital platforms, intergovernmental organizations, civil society organizations, media, academe, and the technical community. Let me summarize the salient roles assigned by the guidelines to CSOs and the academia. 1. Support freedom of expression, access to information, and other human rights, and engage in oversight. Number 2, understand the nature and countervailing harmful online content behavior and in monitoring and reporting on government laws, policies, and regulatory actions. Number 3, the academia should help identify patterns of abusive behavior where the possible root causes could be addressed. And number 4, CSO and academia is called upon to help young people and learners of all ages understand the wider digital environment. I encourage the conveners of this National Media Conclave to organize another forum to discuss the salient features of this very important document which we released only early November. The guidelines for the governance of digital platforms can be downloaded in the UNESCO website. I hope that the next National Media Conclave will discuss the features of these guidelines which have significant impact on how we deal with technologies in our daily lives and in the life a disruptive and productive conference. Thank you very much.